We got to get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. Hey, welcome to the Social Contract with Joe Walsh, former Congressman Joe Walsh, back at our normal time this Wednesday. I lose track of days all the time. I would imagine many of you do as well. Hey, this show this morning, I'm gonna tee off on Trump. No surprise. I'm going to offer some supportive advice to Kamala Harris. And I want to tell you about something that happened to me recently, kind of the social contract in action. And it involved the middle finger. But first, Trump. I'm going to do my best because I hear from some of you. Watch your language, Joe. Former congressman, former presidential candidate, watch your language. I'm going to do my best to watch my language, but I'm going to fucking rip into Donald Trump. Donald Trump yesterday used Arlington National Cemetery as a political prop for his campaign. He did a political campaign photo op at Arlington National Cemetery. Sacred ground. Sacred ground. And that son of a bitch who has zero appreciation for anything sacred because all he cares about is himself. He took pictures himself and others in front of some of the grave sites at Arlington National Cemetery yesterday. Purely a political event, purely a campaign event, purely a campaign photo op. There he is. By the way, there he is with others, standing in front of a gravesite of one of our heroes with his, a silly, stupid grin on his face, and he's got his MAGA thumbs up. I get tired, I grow tired every day of calling him an utterly despicable human being. But I will not stop in calling him an utterly despicable human being. By the way, those of you Trump supporters listening to me right now, thank God. Thank you. God bless you for listening to me. Just so we're clear, and I know deep down this even bothers you a little bit. That's hallowed ground. That's holy ground. That's sacred ground. But just so we're all aware, everybody with me this Wednesday morning, federal law prohibits election-related activities at any of our official military cemeteries. It gets worse, by the way. A report has been filed. The staff at Arlington filed a report. Supposedly, the Trump campaign officials were roughed up this staffer working at Arlington National Cemetery, barged their way in. He tried to stop them. This staffer at the cemetery did it. Arlington did. Tried to stop them. Can't do this. This is Arlington National Cemetery. This is against the law. This is against regulations. You can't do unofficial private campaign election events here at Arlington National Cemetery. The Trump campaign officials said, fuck that. They roughed him up, supposedly. We'll find out. A report's been filed. They mentally, verbally went after him and just bulled their way forward, ignoring the rules and regs, but that's par for the course. But more importantly, Trump utterly ignoring the sacred place that Arlington National Cemetery is. And again, two thoughts come to mind. Trump hates the military. I just love to say that. Donald Trump has zero respect for the military. This is example number 13,974 of that. The man who called them losers and suckers. The man who couldn't understand, told General Kelly, I don't understand why anyone would die for their country. The man who said all the sex he had here at home during Vietnam, that was his private Vietnam. Not a surprise. Not at all a surprise that Donald Trump would not care about or would not understand what Arlington National Cemetery is, what it means, who's there, why they're there. Same man who a week or two ago said the Presidential Medal of Freedom is a bigger deal than the Medal of Honor, the Congressional Medal of Honor, the Medal of Honor that goes to our men and women in uniform who rose above and gave it all on the battlefield. And Trump said an award that Rush Limbaugh and Tiger Woods got was a bigger deal, Trump said, than the Medal of Honor. No surprise that he and his team would just say, fuck it. I don't care if you're not supposed to campaign or do any sort of electioneering here, right? Any election-related activities here on this sacred, hallowed ground. I don't give a damn about that. I'm Donald Trump. I don't give a damn about who's buried here. That's what Trump said. That's what Trump did when he used Arlington National Cemetery as a political prop. That's what he said. Donald Trump said, I don't give a damn about these men and women buried here at Arlington National Cemetery. I don't give a damn about them. That's what Trump said. All you men and women, you know what? Forget it. Every American listening to me right now. Every American listening to me right now. He's unfit to be president. He's manifestly unfit to be commander-in-chief. He has zero respect for our military. And you men and women who serve this country, God bless you and thank you for your service. You are heroes all. I want you to dig down deep these last 70 days and think about it. How the hell can you support a guy like this? How the hell can you support a guy who would say, fuck it, I don't care about Arlington National Cemetery. I don't care that federal law prohibits me from doing this. I'm going to go take a campaign photo op on this ground. You think about it, you American heroes. How the hell can you vote for someone who has zero respect for our men and women who died serving this country? By the way, I will remind you, everybody, as I'm teeing off on Donald Trump right now, this is the same guy who used the White House. Remember in 2020, Donald Trump turned the White House into the Republican National Convention. Donald Trump and Melania Trump and others Trump gave his nomination acceptance speech at the White House. Again, blowing by all norms, all regulations, all rules, and all laws. The White House, damn it, is the people's house. Not supposed to be used for campaigning. Trump decided in 2020 to give his acceptance speech and have much of his political convention at the White House. The White House isn't the Republicans' house. It's not the Democrats' house. The White House is the people's house. It's not supposed to be used for campaigning. Every president before Trump understood that. No other president would ever dare to think about saying, fuck you, people's house. I'm going to campaign from here. It's not his house. It does not belong to any political party. The White House belongs to all of us. It's not Trump's house. It's not Biden's house right now. They are there temporarily. That's our house. That's the people's house. And in 2020, Donald Trump used it again as a political prop. He used your house and my house. Had never been done before. 2020, right? During the pandemic, right? So both parties had to adjust what they're doing, right? And maybe not have big in-person crowded conventions. And everybody adjusted, and many people went off-site. Trump broke all rules and regulations, all norms, all codes of ethics, and used our house to campaign, turned the White House into the site of the Republican National Convention, desecrating the White House. What Trump did yesterday was he desecrated Arlington National Cemetery. What Donald Trump did in August of 2020, he desecrated the people's house. Again, look, I can say until I'm blue in the face, he is a despicable human being. He is an utterly horrible human being. I can say that every day. I do say that every day. The reason I say it every day is because I know that damn near everyone listening to me right now is better than he is certainly better than he thinks we are. I bring up how despicable Trump is every day, how he is everything. Listen to me, Trump supporters. Listen to me, Trump supporters. Donald Trump is everything you teach your children not to be. I bring this up every day because I know you, Trump supporters, are better than that. I know you are not like him. I know you're better than him. I know you're better than he thinks you are. And I do this, and I go after him every day, and I do not go after you, Trump supporters. I used to be a Trump supporter because I'm trying to reach you. Yeah. I'm trying to respectfully and lovingly hit you upside the head with a 2x4, saying you are better than this. We are better than this. We are better than a man who would say, fuck it, I'm going to break the law and step all over the dead men and women buried at Arlington National Cemetery because I want a campaign photo op. Fuck him for doing that. But to you, Trump supporters, to you, please, I ask you, dig deep down. Even if you do it privately, you can't support this kind of a human being. As pissed as you are at the Democrats, as bad as you may think Kamala Harris is on policy, whatever your beef is, you're pissed off at CNN or whatever, there comes a point where you got to draw a line. We all have a line, don't we? I'm a former Trump supporter. I had a line, and 6 years ago, he crossed that line for me. Trump supporters, you have a line. A man who would say I don't give a damn about what the White House is. It's mine. I can do whatever the fuck I want to do with it. I can campaign from the White House. It's the people's house. A man who doesn't even understand what that means. That house belongs to us. A man who doesn't understand that, doesn't that cross your line? And if not, if that doesn't cross your line, a man who would step on all the honor and all the sacrifice of every hero buried at Arlington National Cemetery just to get a cheap, stupid campaign photo op. Hey, hello, does that cross your line? Only you can answer that. My rule is simple. I will respectfully try to persuade Trump supporters for the next 70 days. And my biggest message is you're way, way, way better than Donald Trump. And this country is better than Donald Trump. What he did yesterday at Arlington, just the latest example. Just the latest example. Hey, advice for Trump's opponent, Democratic nominee Kamala Harris. I've been one of these Harris supporters, Republicans for Harris, who've been asking her respectfully for a month now, get out there, Kamala, have that news conference, get in front of the media, take on all comers, take on all questions. You're running for the highest office in the land. You got to take questions from our free media. Harris announced yesterday that she will have her first interview with CNN tomorrow night, and it will be with her and her vice presidential pick, Tim Walz. They will be interviewed. By the way, Stephen, man, to take the time this morning, and thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I hope you tune in every morning, but then to just respond and say, shut up, like that's all you got? Shut up, a-hole. Somebody shut this a-hole up. Stephen, that's all you can say. And I think and I wonder, why are you listening to me? I'm glad you are. I mean it. I'm glad you are. But I'll say what I always say. If you're going to tell me to shut my a-hole up, tell me why. Tell me what I'm saying that bothers you. And I believe, here's what I believe before I get back, Keith, to Kamala Harris, and I will. I believe that when I go off on Trump and Trump supporters get pissed at me, I think Trump supporters get pissed at me because they're pissed at Trump, but they cannot and will not express how pissed off they are at Trump. Like I'm looking at a lot of the messages right now. Shut up, Joe. You're an ass, Joe. You're a traitor, Joe. You're a Dem, Joe. You're a rhino, Joe. All the rest. Because I dared to bring up what Trump did yesterday. Utterly ignoring the sacredness of Arlington National Cemetery to get a cheap campaign photo. Thank you, Mary Carey. Be brave. Continue to be brave. God love you, Mary Carey. Be brave. Continue to be brave. Amen. Absolutely. Be brave. Stay brave. I believe you're pissed because you're pissed that Trump did that. I believe that struck a chord. I believe that touched a nerve, right? You don't have, for whatever reason, Stephen and the rest of you don't have the balls, you don't have the decency, you don't have the courage, you're confused, whatever, to lash out at Trump publicly. So it's easy to lash out at me publicly for calling Trump out. I get that. You're taking out your, come on, Trump, on me. But as I'll always say, be better. Don't just tell me to shut up. No matter who wins in November, this country's got to figure out a way to get along. We figure out how to get along by having conversations. Shut up, a-hole. That ain't a conversation starter. It just isn't. Whereas, Stephen, if you'd have said, shut up, a-hole. Hey, Joe, what was wrong with Trump campaigning at Arlington National Cemetery? Stephen, there's a campaign starter. That's a dialogue starter. Then I'd respond with, and then you'd respond with, and the temperature would be lowered eventually. Even, Stephen, if we don't fucking agree, the temperature would be lowered and we'd have a better, greater understanding of each other. So never just shut up, a-hole. Shut up, a-hole. Here's why. Look, Kamala Harris having her first sit down with the media, CNN tomorrow night, with her and her vice presidential pick. Again, respectfully, Kamala Harris, fine, not good enough. I wish Tim Walz wasn't there. I wish it was just you sitting down with a reporter. I wish it was just you, a presidential nominee, sitting down with Dana Bash at CNN. Look, I want you to win, and I'm doing everything I can to help you win. This just gives more fodder to those folks out there who say you don't have it in you to sit down with the media all by yourself. You got to have Tim Walz there as a crutch. I don't think that's the case. I know that's not why you're doing it, but you understand, Madam Vice President, that it looks that way. It looks that way. It gives Trump and his people ammo to say that Kamala Harris, look at this. She hasn't sat down with the media. Now she's finally sitting down with the media, but she can't do it by herself. She's got to have her VP pick there, her crutch, her babysitter there. Just bad optics. Doesn't look good. Take this as it's meant to be, Kamala Harris. Respectful, friendly advice. I don't even think it's good enough sitting down with one reporter for a half hour or whatever, even by yourself. I want to see Kamala Harris. I want to see you in front of 40 to 50 members of the media as they fire questions at you. Again, I'll say, Kamala Harris, I want to see you every day, every night in front of 40 to 50 regular Americans, unfiltered, unscreened, as they fire questions at you. You're running for the highest office of the land. You're obligated to do that. And oh, by the way, Kamala Harris, I think you'd do really well. I really do. I think it would help you win. So this thing tomorrow night with CNN, you and your VP pick, okay. But man, I really hope that you've got more planned. Take on all comers. I mean it. Hey, I was not going to tell you where, but yesterday, grabbed a coffee, walking down the street. Somebody's walking toward me, and he looked at me, just kind of shook his head, and gave me the middle finger. He kept walking. I kept walking a little bit, but then I turned around. And for context, when people recognize me, oftentimes it will be like that, or it will be thumbs up. You're doing great. Keep doing what you're doing. Depends on where I am. If I'm in more of a Trumpy area, generally it's more shut up, middle finger. If I'm in more of a Democratic area, generally it's more thumbs up. By the way, that's the I get that every day. People say I look like Jeffrey Epstein. My response always is, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I think I'm better looking than Jeffrey Epstein was. Um, but I turned around and I said, hey, what was that for? This guy yesterday who shook his head at me and gave me the middle finger, he turned around and he said, because you're helping her win and you're a turncoat because you turned on Trump. Now, he did not say that in a real hostile manner. And we were about 8-10 feet away from each other. Just a short story here. I walked up to him in a non-hostile manner. And I said, I appreciate that, because oftentimes, I told him, people will just give me a middle finger and they'll keep walking and never kind of explain to me why they're giving me the middle finger. I appreciate you giving me a why. Will you give me just a minute to explain why? He said, yeah. I'm holding a cup of coffee. We sat there on the sidewalk, stood there on the sidewalk with each other. And I explained, I won't go into detail, but I explained to him why me, as a Tea Party conservative, is supporting Kamala Harris and why I turned against Donald Trump 6 years ago. I gave him my explanation. He listened, asked me a couple questions, shook his head, disagreed with me, but he and I, here's the point of the story. He and I, for about 3 to 4 minutes, had a respectful conversation right there out on a sidewalk. A guy who 4 or 5 minutes prior gave me the middle finger and shook his head at me. He and I had a 4 to 5 minute respectful. Clearly, we disagreed with each other. We're standing on a sidewalk, but we were able to have a respectful conversation. And it ended with him saying, I appreciate you taking the time. I don't agree with words you just said, Joe, but I kind of now understand why you're doing what you are doing. I understand now. And I appreciate you taking a couple minutes. I thanked him. And I thanked him for being respectful. And we went our separate ways. Why do I tell you this story? Here's why. This is the social contract. That story, this was yesterday, the social contract in action. We can't be a country where every day we're flipping each other off, shaking our heads at each other, and yelling at each other. We don't have to be a country that will agree on everything, but we have to be a country that is able to engage in respectful conversation. And as importantly, a country who can kind of gain an understanding of the people who disagree with us. I did that in 5 minutes on a sidewalk in an American city yesterday with a hardcore Trump supporter who vehemently disagreed with me, who gave me the middle finger. We didn't find common ground. We each gained an understanding. He understood, he said, why I'm doing what I do. That's more than half the ballgame. Oh, if only we could all understand each other better. A final point, another indictment. Jack Smith came back yesterday. A whole new grand jury. Jack Smith, a new indictment against Donald Trump for trying to overthrow the 2020 election. Key takeaways, he had to adjust this indictment a little bit. It is a new indictment because of the Supreme Court ruling on immunity a couple months ago, where the Supreme Court basically said when an American president can commit crimes as a president, a horribly dangerous precedent-setting ruling, Jack Smith pulled forward, issued another indictment against Trump, a new indictment. Still, most of the same charges. Conspiring to commit fraud on the American people, conspiring to obstruct an official proceeding, hatching a conspiracy against the American voter. Everything Trump did, the crimes that Trump committed trying to overthrow an American election, the American election. 2 points I want to make as I close. If Trump wins the election, Trump will immediately get rid of this indictment. He has that power as president. If Trump loses this election, he will be put on trial, finally, for trying to overthrow an American election. Those of you looking for another reason to vote against Trump, there it is. If Trump loses, he's going to be put on trial. Donald Trump tried to overthrow an American election in 2020. If he wins, he will never, ever face trial for that. If he wins, even with this new indictment, Trump will get rid of it. Last point on this. This was a whole new grand jury. This was a whole new group of average, everyday, regular Americans who looked at all the evidence put in front of them and said, yes, there's enough to move forward on these charges to prove that Trump committed crimes. Whole nother set of regular Americans just said that. Lest you go after the deep state, or you go after, the Justice Department or the FBI, or Trump's the greatest victim in the history of humanity, the most persecuted person. Oh, it's all these, the deep state and all these rich, powerful people trying to take him down. No, none of that. This was another group of average, regular, everyday Americans, just like you and your neighbors, who did their civic duty and did their job and looked at the evidence and said, yes, there's enough there. They ain't the deep state. Thank you for listening. This is The Social Contract with Joe Walsh. Follow me everywhere. Tell everybody you know about this podcast. We're growing. I'm out on the road a lot. I'll be in all the battleground states the next 70 some days, trying to respectfully engage with Republicans and independents and get them every single day on the ground, if I can persuade them to understand and believe that they are better than this guy. We are a better country than a man who would step all over Arlington National Cemetery for a campaign photo op. God bless you, everybody. Thank you for listening. Keith, we're done. Be brave. Be brave.
Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.